In the early years of King Henry II's reign, Thomas Becket was indispensable. Becket was not born to power. He was the son of a London merchant, educated abroad, fluent in law, administration, and diplomacy. Henry recognized talent when he saw it. By 1155, Becket was the Chancellor of England. He was the king's closest political ally. They hunted together, traveled together, and governed together. You understand my problem, Thomas. England has laws, but no unity. I need order, real order. Then you must enforce the law evenly. Nobles, sheriffs, and even clerics. Especially clerics. Becket agreed as Chancellor. He defended royal authority without hesitation, even against church interests, which is why in 1162, Henry made a decision which seemed logical for Thomas. He appointed Thomas Becket the Archbishop of Canterbury. The appointment stunned the court. Becket himself hesitated. He warned the king, quietly and privately, that the office would change him. Henry ignored the warning. Within weeks of his consecration, Becket resigned as Chancellor. He adopted an austere lifestyle, enforcing church discipline with the same intensity he once applied to royal policy. What Henry expected was loyalty. What he received was independence. The conflict centered on jurisdiction. Clergy accused of crimes, assault, theft, even murder were tried in church courts, where the punishment was often lenient. Henry demanded reform. In 1164, he issued the Constitutions of Clarendon, asserting the royal authority over the church in England. This is not tyranny, it is governance, Becket. Yes, my grace, it is intrusion. The church answers to God, not the crown. Then you leave me no choice or alternative, Becket! Becket refused to fully accept the constitutions. Charged with contempt of royal authority, he fled England. For 6 years, Becket lived in exile, mostly in France, under the protection of King Louis VII. Exile hardened him. He wrote letters condemning royal interference. He excommunicated bishops aligned with Henry. He appealed directly to the Pope. Henry, meanwhile, consolidated power at home and grew increasingly bitter. The quarrel became personal, yet neither man could fully escape the other. In 1170, after years of negotiation, Henry and Becket reached a fragile reconciliation. Becket returned to England, but peace did not last. Soon after his return, Becket excommunicated several bishops who had supported the king's authority during his absence. King Henry was in Normandy when he received startling news. Becket excommunicated several bishops who had supported the king's authority during his absence. No written order survives. No command was formally issued. But witnesses record Henry's rage. I have nurtured this man, I have raised him higher than any other, and now I am defied again. What miserable traitors have I brought up in my household, that none will free me from this meddlesome priest? 4 knights heard him, and did not ask for clarification. Reginald Fitzurse, William de Tracy, Hugh de Morville, and Richard le Breton. They rode across winter roads towards Canterbury. They believed they were serving their king. Thomas Becket was preparing for Vespers. The knights entered armed. Becket began with the Deus in Auditorium Meum Intende, which began the Vesper service. The knights followed him into the cathedral. What followed was brief. It was violent, and it was irreversible. Becket was struck down before the altar, and the knights fled. The reaction was immediate. Across Europe, outrage spread. A bishop murdered in his own cathedral in prayer by men acting in the name of a king. Pilgrims flocked to Canterbury. Reports of healings and miracles followed. Within 3 years, Thomas Becket was canonized. Henry II was stunned, but he denied ordering the killing. but denial did not absolve him. In 1174 he came to Canterbury, barefoot, unarmed, and publicly penitent. He was scourged by the monks at Becket's tomb. He prayed at Becket's tomb. The king lived the rest of his life under the shadow of that day. Thomas Becket's death did not resolve the struggle between church and crown. It clarified it. In the years that followed, English kings governed more carefully around ecclesiastical authority. The church, strengthened by Becket's martyrdom, stood with renewed confidence, its independence defended not by armies but by memory. For centuries, pilgrims came to Canterbury not for rebellion but for reconciliation. 360 years later, another English king would test these same boundaries. Another Henry, King Henry VIII. Thomas Becket did not live to see the long arc of English religious history, but his stand shaped it. Empires certainly rise and crowns pass, but conscience leaves a longer trace.